This is the Tree of Life, Season 30, Chapter 2. In this episode, we will be talking about the role of direct ground and indirect ground in the formation of consensus. Direct ground is the suppositional component of a thought. If a statement assumes something, then the assumption underlying the statement is the direct ground of that statement. Direct ground can be roughly equated to the faith of the statement, the underlying ground of the statement. In our discussion of the dialectical degeneration, which occurs when a thought is two steps from consensus, the generalization stage eliminates the nuance created by one of two key terms by way of an assumption. This assumption is a suppositional thought. In the example we gave much earlier of a thought which is two steps from consensus, intergenerational poverty, the first generalization stage in degeneration is described by the suppositional thought, all poverty is intergenerational. If you imagine that two digital structures describe the first thought, intergenerational poverty, then the second thought eliminates the nuance added by one of the terms, replacing it with a single digital structure. The categorization stage is described by the suppositional thought, which is also direct ground. It doesn't have to be. The purpose of this analysis is to show that multiplicity, that is, where multiple structures with distinct priority describe a single impulse, direct ground eliminates that multiplicity. If you imagine that the two structures describing a thought represent distinct priorities in reverse substitution, then the elimination of ambiguity through direct ground represents consolidation of a single hierarchical priority. That is, if each of these structures represent a distinct domain, the application of direct ground resolves or consolidates the priority represented by those digital structures. Faith eliminates multiplicity, creating a single order to stacked perceptual experiences. Hierarchies are built on optimization of goal-directed actions. As priority establishes that the incoming consciousness act out the impulse of the outgoing consciousness according to their goal. Hierarchies also consolidate sublimation at the top of the hierarchy, resulting in infinite recursion only being possible as you ascend to the top of it. Thus, hierarchical recursion expands the domain by imposing direct ground on those lower in priority. In effect, there is no practical distinction between direct ground and the compelling of acquiescence. Hierarchical priority ensures the dialectical degeneration by imposing phase flips on those lower in priority through nonlinearity. This manifests as suppositional ground during the dialectical degeneration of a thought. In the formation of a hierarchical consensus, that is, the flowing of consciousness through all the vessels within the hierarchy determines the objects referential to each vessel. This follows from the idea that within that hierarchy, all vessels' objects of consciousness have analogues within the lives of their lateral alters. Thus, a complete circuit of hierarchical priority entails the simultaneous shifting of those objects around each consciousness in parallel to the others. Indirect ground, which is the contingent idea, the thought which is constructed on the assumption implicit to a suppositional thought degenerates, because it is not grounded. Indirect ground is the matter of consensus, whereas direct ground is the unformed existence which unifies distinct hierarchies within a single priority. Indirect ground is the phenomenal manifestation of the change. That's the end of the podcast for today.